my number one favourite is Benura Fernando.
All right.
And there's a story. There's a little story behind that. And then he signalled up on the fort, like, look at your phone. I was calling, and Joe Root started talking to me. I was like, and he was thanking me. I started thanking him. There was just a lot of thanking going on. So I sent him a message and said, Danny, is it okay if you just replied to an email to give me permission to sit on the fort? Straight away, he was like, yes, no problem.
Oh, beautiful.
So he sent it back. Yeah. So the policeman that kicked me off the fort quite forcibly, I came back and I was like, oh, Mr. Lewis, welcome. Enjoyed the game. So it was a complete turn in fortune. So it was.
Welcome to another episode of Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast with Vida and Bora, and this episode is sponsored by Stag Sports Australia. We are delighted to have a very special guest joining us to have a chat with us today. Some call him the greatest ever supporter of English cricket because of his remarkable COVID story, which we are very keen to get into in this episode. His name's Rob Lewis, aka Randy Caddick. Welcome to Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast, Rob.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Nice to meet you guys.
So you are in Sri Lanka at the moment, and how are you coping with the petrol shortages and the power cut? Hope you are not having trouble with lion lager stock shortages.
No, luckily the lions are fully stocked. I might consider my position here if it wasn't so. But it's all right. I mean, apart from the protests, power cuts, the fuel shortages, etc., it's actually all right. I'm not forgetting the monsoon rains because it's off season, but I do love it here. I really love it here, so I'm enjoying it. But it's a bit strange because the Sri Lankan people are on tough times. There's huge queues for the fuel. I rented a bike and used up a quarter of a tank that came with it and haven't refueled it since. So it's I mean, on my level it doesn't really affect me that much, but the local people it's pretty hard. But I do love Sri Lanka and I'll be here as long as I can.
You've been put in Sri Lanka on the map by supporting us through, since you've been in Sri Lanka for the England Test series. So I guess for our viewers out there, just want to know how you came about to be in Sri Lanka and, setting up into the English Test series in Sri Lanka. How did that come about?
Well, so the story was I came for the original Test match in March 2020, and I was on the flight over here. The Test match got cancelled. It was one of the few last sporting events to be cancelled. It becomes a surprise. There were already a few fans out here, people from the Barmy Army. Everyone spent a week on Uluwatuna Beach because the first test was due to be played in Gaul. And then COVID got a bit severe. I'm just going to have to move, actually, guys. Sorry, it's just started raining. Give me 5 seconds. I have to go back to that. I'm out in the open. It's going to get wet. It was sunny a minute ago, but there you go.
That's something I miss in Sri Lanka. I see the sun now and a bit of water.
Oh mate, it's starting to come down, but I'm under shelter here, so it should be all right.
That's lovely. We are in our winter jackets here, and you're loving the sun and having some warm weather.
Oh yeah, there doesn't seem to be any. There's never a cold day here, that's for sure. You might get severely wet, unfortunately. But there we go. Yeah, I'll just wipe the drain off the keyboard. Right, okay, I'll start again on the old story. So I came in for the original Test match in March 2020. And I was on the plane. The Test match got cancelled, but it was one of the last sporting events to be cancelled, so it wasn't really a surprise. There were fans already over here in Uluwatuna. The first Test was meant to be played in Gaul. So everyone kind of stayed for a week, but as COVID got more severe, the foreign minister called everyone to come home. And I'd been working quite hard up to this point to save up for this trip. So I was I dug my heels in and think I'm not going to come home. I'll stay here for the month, wait for COVID to sort of blow over. So I actually went further around the coast to Hirakatia, and spent a couple of months there when curfews were on here. So there was days you weren't allowed out, but then there was a couple of days you were. But I was on a beach, so I couldn't really complain. I had the whole of this beautiful tourist beach to myself. It was fantastic. And then obviously the situation rumbled on. The UK wasn't great. I was in contact with friends and family back home. They just kept telling me not to come home. So it was quite easy for me to stay here. The borders were closed, but Sri Lanka kind of opened up internally. So things were happening. There's a few events, some parties. So it was compared to what people were going through back home, it was a no-brainer to stay here. And then after a while, there was I heard England were penciled in to come back in January. I didn't really think I'd be staying that long, but I thought, well, I mean, I could stick it out till then, and and it paid off. Yeah, they eventually came, and I ended up being the only Englishman watching from the fort.
Yeah, I mean, no one predicted a pandemic, and we are in it for nearly 3 years now. So, I mean, you have a very interesting story to tell your kids and your grandkids. I mean, you can tell the story for years. And as you said, you decided to stay back, and you ended up being in Sri Lanka for 10 months. And as you said, you were the only fan left to support England, and that's how we came about your story. Because the fans were not allowed to watch the game in the stadium, and you ended up going up the fort, and you put your flags up there, and we like to hear about that story. I think they asked you to leave because police asked you to leave. Was that the story?
Yeah, that's correct. When I first got up there, I made these huge banners. The Barmy Army had been in contact. They kind of adopted me. They wanted me to put a banner up, so I said, okay, I'll put a banner up. But I also said, as long as we can kind of raise money for We Care, which is a dog care charity here. Something I was quite keen on. So like it was like a favour for a favour. So on the first morning of the first test, I hung these banners. I'd created them. I didn't realise how big they were. I was like, I just have the biggest size. They were 5 meters by 3 meters. Like, you can't imagine how big. Like, if I do my arm stretch, like that's barely 2 meters. So these things are massive. So it was quite a struggle to get them up. There was. I had to get my friend to go to the bottom of the fort and take some rope to peg them in underneath, just so they didn't flap around. But it took us over an hour to put up just 3 banners. I had 3 more, but I was too tired. And so I sang Jerusalem for the first time, which was like pretty incredible. I've kind of been thinking about that for a while, being the only person singing Jerusalem. I didn't think that would actually happen. And then I was told to leave. And then I had to go to the police station to ask for permission. They were sending me back to the policeman on the fort. They were just sending me in circles, basically. No one was taking any ownership of the situation.
That's typical in Sri Lanka.
It's typical Sri Lanka, yeah. But after an hour, I came back to the fort. My banners were not there. I was like, what's going on? And policeman said, you can't hang your banners here. I'm like, what? It was bitterly disappointed. But I did see people had screenshotted it on their tellies. The banners were up on the fort. So it was that. But there was that hour that they were up. So I'm kind of pleased with that.
I think, Rob, one of the Sri Lankan journalists, Rex, he was there up on the fort as well. Did you come across him? Because I think he was covering the game from the fort. So
I did. I said to the police, why is this guy allowed up there? And he said, well, he's media accredited. So I was like, can I get this? Like, I'm reporting back to the Barmy Army. Like, everyone wants to know about the cricket through me. So I was like, I'm reporting it. Like, give me the accreditation. So someone gave me a number for a representative at the SLC who basically asked permission from the England camp. And one of the media manager, Danny Rubin, followed me on Twitter recently. So I sent him a message and said, Danny, is it okay if you just reply to an email to give me permission to sit on the fort? straight away he was like, yes, no problem.
Oh, beautiful.
So he sent it back. Yeah. So the policeman that kicked me off the fort quite forcibly, I came back and I was like, Mr. Lewis, welcome. Enjoyed the game. So it was a complete turn in fortune. So yeah, it was very strange. So that was evening of the second day. I'd been wandering around the test match, watching through the gates between them. So it was a huge relief. Yeah.
And I guess, Rob, you wouldn't have gotten to meet the English players right along. It would have been the interaction you had at the match, seeing them, right? Because everything was pretty tight-knit in terms of exposure because of COVID. You weren't able to meet the English camp by any chance, or?
No. People said, "Oh, you must be able to go enjoy a beer with the players afterwards." But the nature of the beast. I mean, if I was able to, then I wouldn't have been in the position to be the only fan up there. So there was no chance of meeting them. They left. I think it was the day after the second test. They left straight for India because they had some test matches there. I cheekily asked to jump on their plane, which was they said no. And I tried getting a visa to India, but like travel at the time was super hard. Like it was a no.
Yeah.
I went to the Indian embassy in Colombo, did a little bit of begging, tried to flag it, but to no avail. So unfortunately, I couldn't carry on the adventure over there.
Yeah, and
but I did eventually get to meet Joe Root recently in the Caribbean when I went over there. But it wasn't the happy ending I was hoping. But maybe we can talk about that later.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna ask you. I mean, when Joe Root scored his 100, he straight away raised the bat towards the goal fort, and you were up there. Then after the game, I think he rang you. He gave you a call, and said thanks.
Yeah, he did. It was very, very, very surreal. It feels a bit weird thinking about it now, but yeah, it was a superb gesture from him. He came all the way over. They were signaling. I think he was doing an interview with someone. He was with Danny Rubin, and then he signaled up on the fort, like, look at your phone. I was calling, and Joe Root started talking to me. I was like, and he was thanking me. I started thanking him. There was just a lot of thanking going on.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm sure you would have been a few beers in deep at that time when you got the call. Things would have been pretty.
Well, I actually learnt my lesson not to drink while up on the fort because it's the hottest place on earth. It's fully exposed to the sun. A couple of days I started drinking in the morning, and I ended up with heat stroke at the end of the day. So I learned that it was best just to kind of just stay well hydrated and then start enjoy the Lions in the evening session. Yeah, that's the best thing to do. Otherwise, you'll end up in trouble. So I wasn't too drunk at all at the end, which is great because I fully remember everything that happened. So I would have hated it to have been super drunk and not remembered, and possibly made a fool out of myself on the phone to Joe anyway. But yeah.
Cricket. Did you play cricket, Rob, back in England? Have you played cricket in Sri Lanka since 10 months? I mean, you would have played some street cricket, I'm sure, or beach cricket. So,
I've played a couple of games on the beach here. Yeah, when they pop up. I played very young. When I was 6, I played all the way till I was about 22. I played cricket a lot. I represented Middlesex and Surrey about under 14 age. But I was never good enough to continue with the county. But I did play Surrey Championship at my club, mainly for the second 11, which was a pretty good standard. And I played some games for the first 11, which was a very good standard. We had Jimmy Adams as our overseas player, so I've played with Jimmy Adams, which was something that I'll remember. That was super fun. He's such a nice guy. So yeah, I enjoyed that. But I stopped playing cricket early because it took up too much of my time when I started full-time work, which is the same story, unfortunately, for a lot of people. So I just enjoyed watching cricket from afar. And now I'm fortunate enough to be able to get time off work and work around it, and afford to be able to go to see games. So yeah, it's nice.
You mentioned county cricket, and we hear a lot of news coming from England about this change of the setup with Rob Key coming in as the director of cricket, and you have two new coaches, one for Red Bull with Brendan McCallum and Matthew Mott as the white ball coach, and we hear Kevin Peterson might get a advisory role as well. What do you think about these new changes in the England cricket setup?
Well, for a start, like, you can't really make judgments until they've had a crack at the job. So obviously, I hope it goes well. It's a big change across the board, something we probably needed. I mean, Rob Key and Brendan McCullum haven't got too much experience in their roles, but again, it's not our job to select them. They've been picked. They did well at their interviews. It's just our jobs as fans to support them, and the teams that they pick. Obviously, whenever a team is picked, it gets criticised on Twitter, etc., etc. But I avoid that. Like, whatever teams they pick, that's their job to pick the teams. But it's our job as fans to support whoever's playing. So it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm excited for Ben Stokes to be captain. I hope it doesn't turn out the way Ian Botham and Freddie Flintoff, who is very much alike as a cricketer. They didn't go too well, but we're just hoping. He's saying all the right things. He's saying he's not Flintoff. He's not Botham. He's Ben Stokes. So obviously, wish them all the best, and it is exciting. And to be honest, we're bottom of the Test Championship table, so the only way is up.
Yeah.
We're not really disappointed with the change. Pretty happy because the guy who exited the job started a role with us, and he's got a good start to his career with Sri Lanka with Chris Silverwood winning a Test series up in Bangladesh for Sri Lanka. So that's a pretty good time for us.
Yes, I think it's a great appointment. I think he'll do well. I think the Bangladesh was a good, important one to win, full of confidence. Australia are coming over here next month, so they've got a full tour, T20s, one days, and 2 Test matches. I mean, that's up against the best. Sri Lanka will be underdogs, but they need to just use the conditions to their advantage. But Chris, wish Chris well. I know the physio Brett. I was hoping to meet Chris at some point. I met Mickey Arthur and Grant Flower and Macca, the fielding coach. We had a little sort of like drinking club. That sounds a bit problematic. I assure you it wasn't that bad. But yeah, every Friday we met for a few beers in Colombo. So I made friends with them. So I'm hoping to meet Chris at some point. It would be great to meet him. But I'm sure he's pretty busy settling in. So maybe one day.
Yeah. I think you mentioned Australia coming in to Sri Lanka. There are people a bit, nervous about the situation out there. You been settling in. I think you know the ground level a lot better. Any advice for any Australians thinking of hoping to visit the games and watch a bit of cricket and enjoy the scenery around there?
Yes. There's some, obviously, governments have warned people not to come here. However, it is safe to come here. It is safe. I can assure everyone of that. There's a few obvious things. I wouldn't advise anyone to get involved with the protests because they've turned. I mean, the government have put people in just to cause trouble. So if you stay away from the protests and don't do anything kind of to attract attention to yourself, you'll be fine. The Sri Lankan people are lovely. Like what they do is the queues for the fuel. They let foreigners to the front of the queue. I don't advise them to take that up on that offer because it's not very nice. But that's the sort of thing that they do to accommodate the tourists. They see tourists as kings. Basically, they treat them really well. So there's no kind of safety or security issue. It's a beautiful country, and if anything, there is a lack of tourism here. And Sri Lanka heavily relies on tourism, especially for people with cash businesses selling food by the streets. They need tourism in, so it's like it's a great time to come and visit, and I hope there are some people that come over.
Oh, that's really good to hear, Rob. I mean, I haven't been to Sri Lanka for nearly 4 years, so you know, it's really great that you are there, and the message you're passing is really important. So, you mentioned a few players. You've been watching a lot of cricket, traveling, and any Sri Lankan players you admire? Who are your favorites?
Yeah, my my number one favorite is Benura Fernando.
All right.
Left
There's
field.
a story. There's a little story behind that. I went back to England when I first went back to England. It was June last year. I went back for the first time, and funnily enough, Sri Lanka were touring. They had 3 one-day internationals in England.
It was a horrendous tour.
England absolutely smashed them. Unfortunately, but I went to a couple of the games. I went to the game at the Oval, and I went to a game in Bristol. And when I went to the game in Bristol, it was a much smaller ground. So I met up with a couple of people in the Barmy Army, and I was like, I'm going to go and say hello to Mickey and Grant. So I went to the change room, said hello to Mickey. It's nice to see them again. And then Benura came over and went, "Oh, you're the guy that was on the fort?" And I was like, "I am, yeah." And he said hello, and it was really nice to be recognised by one of the players. So that kind of stood out. So I kind of see him as my cult hero now. So I've got a Sri Lankan Test jersey with Benura on the 71. It's just annoying. He keeps getting injured, so he's in and out of the team. But when he's been in the team, he's looked really promising. So I really hope he can stay injury free, and we can see him play against Australia.
No, he's a very good. I mean, he should be in the white ball team, as you said. Like, injuries kept him out.
Yeah,
otherwise,
for sure.
You know, he was an automatic pick. We talked a lot about cricket. What's happening in the life outside of cricket for you? Work-wise, family, what football team you support?
I support Arsenal.
All right, Bora.
Not bad, man.
It's not bad, not good. So we'll skip that one. Hey. But yeah, so I learned to DJ out here. Well, there was COVID. I had a lot of free time. The name Randy Caddick came from I when I got good enough, I got a gig in Colombo, and the guy he said, "What's your DJ name?" And I was like, "I don't have one." So I said to my mates, "I really want a DJ name. I'm not really taking this seriously, so I want a fun name. It'd be good if it could be related to cricket." So we had a load of cricket themed names in the hat, and Randy Caddick was just in the hat somewhere, and we all found it the funniest. So I went with that. So I haven't been DJing too much lately. I've been doing a bit of too much traveling around. I've been very busy at work. What else have I been doing? I'll do a bit of photography. I haven't done much recently because of work, but it's something I'm like passionate about. I've got a photography Instagram account. But not really. I'm just following cricket. I went to the Caribbean in March to watch England, the 3 Test matches over there. That was superb. It was nice to meet other people from the Barmy Army who I've not ever met before. So made a few really good friends there. And I've got a cricket trip coming up, going to Holland, the Netherlands, to see the inaugural one-day series over there, and then I'm coming back to the UK to see England, New Zealand at Headingley, and then England, India at Edgbaston. Then I'm coming back here for a bit, and then I'll be back in the UK for August to see people. And
you reckon
planning to come back to Sri Lanka for the season, but obviously outside factors are in place, so we'll just have to see how it goes.
You reckon you'll be in Australia to watch the T20 World Cup, or that's more?
I don't think so. I'm trying to see as much as I can, but I mean the schedule is crazy. To see every game requires a lot of time and money, which I don't have unlimited resources of, unfortunately. So I'm picking and choosing. Test matches are the priority for me. So I'm hoping to go to Pakistan in December. We've been penciled in for a series there, and New Zealand in February. So I've been to New Zealand before, but I've never seen cricket there. So I'm going to try and manifest that to happen.
Oh, that's
good.
awesome.
Any Sri Lankan? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna Rob, any Sri Lankan dish that you've settled in, or how you taking the spice out there?
I can't eat spice. It's not the best kind. I honestly think I'm allergic to spice. If I have any spice, I just sweat like a maniac. So it's not ideal. I don't really eat too many of the local cuisine, but I do like kotu. Kotu is a really nice dish, but I have to just say, please no chili. Otherwise it'll kill me. The dal is nice. Like the egg hoppers I can have. With dal for breakfast. That's quite nice. But there's plenty of places to eat here. So sometimes I'm just eating pizzas and pastas and things.
What about seafood? Are you a fan of seafood?
Oh, there's tons of seafood. Yeah. I'm actually a vegetarian, but I have been eating fish while I've been in Sri Lanka because it's kind of hard not to, because the fish is so fresh. So yeah, I'm a pescatarian now. But yeah, there's plenty. I'll be eating seafood pasta quite a lot, and rating restaurants by eating their seafood pasta and seeing which ones are the best.
Yeah, it's really I miss Sri Lankan, especially crabs. Can't wait to come back to Sri Lanka and try.
There's some really nice restaurants here. Yeah, superb, just super nice. When are you guys expecting to be back?
I'm hoping to come back in December, but anything can happen from now till December.
We just
know how it
keep
goes.
our ears to the ground. Yeah.
So
Rob, I know you. I guess Sri Lanka is you support Sri Lanka as well in cricket now, with having a good experience with visiting out there. How do you see Sri Lanka cricket currently, and with the team? Are they heading in the right direction, or just a thought from the games you've been seeing so far?
They've done superbly well since the England Test matches. We beat Sri Lanka comfortably, and since then, Mickey and his coaching staff have done an amazing job to get them where they were. Their Test team looks more solidified now. They're led admirably by Dimuth, and they've got some really good players in there that should be long term. As if Fernando now is the first seam bowler to take 10 wickets in a match since Jamil Vast, which I thought the stat blew my mind. Yeah. It does kind of say for the state of Sri Lankan fast bowling, but I mean it's also a good thing. He's quite young, so he'll be in there for the time being. So yeah, Mickey and Grant Maka put them in a great position. Unfortunately, they couldn't carry on, but hopefully Chris can pick up the baton and run with it. So it was superb seeing win in Bangladesh. I forgot to say, they put in a great stint at the T20 World Cup in Dubai. I actually went to that. That was in November, and they did really well. They were very unfortunate not to make the semi-finals. England were struggling against them. We were staring down the barrel at one point, but we just crossed the line. But yeah, Sri Lanka did superbly well. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against the best with Australia coming in. So that will be a good kind of barometer of where they are. And they've got Pakistan coming here after that, or that will obviously be very difficult. But they're in a much better position now than when they were when I saw them early last year. So let's hope it continues, because when Sri Lanka do well, I think cricket is in a better place for it.
Oh, nice. No, you're absolutely right. I wish we can talk to you for longer. I mean, we can talk forever because it's really interesting talking to you. So before we wrap up, where can our listeners reach you, Rob? Where can they find you?
I'm quite kind of active on Twitter. I was tweeting about the game yesterday when they beat Bangladesh, and a lot of people message me, and I try and message as many people back as I can. My handle for that is Elite Bandwagon. It's the same handle for Instagram as well.
Okay.
So you can kind of follow kind of what I'm up to on there. Yeah, but yeah.
Great. We'll add those links in our show notes, and you can check him out.
I'm hoping to get to a couple of the early games against Australia, so the T20s, and hopefully the first one day before I go and watch England. So yeah, hopefully I'll be there. If anyone sees me, come say hello.
Lovely.
I like to think I'm approachable, and happy to buy a live beer for anyone that wants to drink with me.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Rob. Thanks a lot for that. I'm sure the listeners will enjoy listening to your story, and will make a trip out to Sri Lanka to experience it for themselves as well. And I guess you're doing a great job supporting Sri Lanka as well. I hope to catch up with you at another episode down the line.
Thank you very much for having me on, Bora and Vida. Very good chatting to you. Wish you luck with your podcast, and I'll keep listening in.
Thanks for coming on, and I'm planning to come to Sri Lanka in December, so hopefully we'll catch up and enjoy a lion lager.
Yeah, for sure.
Together.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.